Welcome to the Pool Podcast. I am Big Jack, your host. Today with me, I have Mackenzie Phillips. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Big Jack. I just want to say that everybody calls me Mac.
Okay.
We're Mac and Jack.
Okay.
Or Jack and Mac.
The Mac and Jack show.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll put your name first.
That would be a good one.
You're the headliner.
Or it could be Jack and Mac.
Okay. I like them both. They both have a good ring to it.
True.
So a little bit about the podcast. You know, we deal with real stories, raw struggles, and powerful comebacks. All three is what you're sitting here for because you qualify for all three.
Eek.
And maybe you could tell us a little bit about your journey into recovery as well as your story and everything about it. So, you know, the floor is yours, and then we'll chime in from there.
Well, let me say this. I was born into an addicted family. And so if I look back at my ancestry, it's like alcoholic, addict, undiagnosed mental illness, you know, all that kind of stuff. So
the predisposition is there.
You know, if you believe in genetic predisposition, absolutely.
I sure do.
I do too, because our brains function differently.
Yeah.
So who wants to admit that they are bodily and mentally different from others?
Not me.
Not me, but I am.
Yeah.
So sort of my path was laid out for me even before I was born, unless I was some sort of anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, my dad was Papa John from the Mamas and the Papas.
Very cool.
Hugely successful band. You know, my dad wrote California Dreamin', which is an anthem for the people, everybody coming here in the summer of love. And he also wrote, if you're going to San Francisco, be sure to wear some flowers in your hair.
Everybody knows it.
And what happened is that sort of got the train rolling of people going, I'm going to San Francisco, you know, in that particular summer. So you can imagine there was a lot of dysfunction.
Sure.
And so I lived with my mother, little Susie January, who was aristocratic Eastern Seaboard, you know which fork to use, cross your legs at the ankles kind of woman. And my dad was just balls to the wall, narcissist, completely different. Like he taught me how to roll joints when I was 10.
Wow.
Taught me how to shoot up when I was maybe 17.
Wow.
Yeah. So the first time I had any alcohol, well, hang on. My mom used to have dinner parties. She was very fancy. She used to have dinner parties or cocktail parties, as they used to be called.
Hence the etiquette that she wanted you to follow, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of that type of stuff from my mom.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Yeah. So after the parties, and everyone had either left or, you know, was passed out upstairs from drinking, my brother Jeffrey and I used to go around and mix all the drinks together and drink them.
Nice.
Like here, maybe over here is like a gin fizz, and over here is a glass of wine. We had no idea. We just poured them together. That was brutal.
It's like a bar mat shot.
Exactly. Exactly. And then, and then one day he was like, oh, let's cut school. I've got a bottle of tequila. And I was 11.
Wow.
And we went behind like this store and with one of his friends. And he had a bottle of tequila and a bottle of root beer. It was gross.
Chaser.
Yeah, a chaser of root beer with tequila. And, you know, I vomited in the trash can. And as we all say, damn, I couldn't wait to do it again.
Yeah.
I could not wait to do it again.
That's bizarre.
Yeah. And then, you know, so dabbling, I was a baby addict, like a baby raging addict from the get-go. And gosh, you know, the first time I did cocaine, I was 11. I was smoking cigarettes at 11. I mean, everything sort of coalesced at 11.
Sure. I'm just trying to think. That would have been like 5th and 6th grade then, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
No child that age should be doing that stuff.
No. I was never really allowed to be a child.
I was just going to say, you didn't have much of a childhood, it doesn't sound like.
And I didn't really have a sense of safety.
Oh.
You know, and there are people who go, oh my God, it's so cool. Your dad was a rock star, you know, and then by the time you were 12, you were doing movies. And I'm like, yeah, it's great. But it was, you know, really hard. I mean, I remember sitting there in my dad's house and, you know, like, I'm not trying to name drop, but I will. And the Beatles were there and the Stones were there. And I'm like this 5-year-old kid sitting there. And I'm looking around going, what makes these adults think it's okay to be this way in front of me? And
so you knew intuitively,
yes,
that it was wrong.
Yes, but
Okay.
I wanted to,
of course,
be them.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so I started stealing cocaine from my dad's bedroom, and it just the progression. But it took a long time for the progression to progress to the point where I was incapacitated.
Sure. You weren't sitting there like waking up, automatically ready to do a line of cocaine before you went to school again or something.
No, but that came pretty quickly after that.
I have no doubt.
When I was 14, my brother and I pretty much took acid and went to school every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
In general, that's what was going on in the era too, right?
Yes.
I mean, like you said, the full, the hippie era.
Yes, but let's break that down a little bit, because there were still many, many normal families, so that wasn't normal to be able to go into your dad's room and steal drugs.
Not that aspect of it. I didn't mean that. Yeah, I meant more along the lines of like, if people were looking to do drugs, they would want to do drugs as often as possible.
Right.
Right. Like it's what was going around at the time, for sure.
The maddest I had ever seen, my angriest I had ever seen my dad was when I stole his last hit of Purple Owsley acid. Now, if anybody there knows Owsley, I see that Jesse in there is kind of aware of what I'm talking about.
Sure.
That was a crime. That was a crime. I mean, and he was like, it was this little jar, and I was like, it was this little purple thing, and I was like, that looks really pretty.
And you knew it was drugs.
Oh, of course, it was in the drug cabinet.
Okay.
And when my dad realized that I had taken it, I mean, he was absolutely furious, and I didn't understand why, because I didn't know what Purple Owsley was, but it could have been, one of the last hits of Purple Owsley on Earth. I have no idea.
Yeah.
And, and I'm saying this all in sort of a somewhat jovial way, but the echoes of the traumas, and as in anybody's childhood, can do last forever unless you address them.
Yeah.
So also when I look behind me, everyone had either mental health issues or drug and alcohol issues, which they then, my father grew up with addicted or alcoholic parents. And then it's called intergenerational trauma. And it's a real thing, and it happens everywhere.
Yeah, it's the same concept of hurt people hurt people.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because it's like, unless people have dealt with that, which, honestly, therapy hasn't been as big as it is today. Back then, right? Therapy was
all hail therapy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
100%. And people that go back to work on themselves and do inner child work and things of that sort. I mean, it's not a weakness by any means. If anything, like you are the reason why it's not being perpetuated another generation, right?
Well, I'm going to tell you something that I've been working in the treatment industry as a counselor, and then I sort of get kicked upstairs. And so now I'm executive level management at Breathe Life Healing Center in West Hollywood.
Very cool.
I work at a subacute trauma center, which treats, substance use disorder and certainly mental health or co-occurring disorders. And I was sitting in my office, and the HR guy came in with a letter, and I thought it was a fan letter, but it was actually a truth bomb letter. A truth bomb letter from a very reliable resource of a family friend. And I won't give the details of what was in it, but it was horrifying. And I was numb. And my clinical director walked by, and I said, "Kathleen, come here and sit down. Read this letter." And she read the letter, and she had appropriate responses. She was like, "Oh my God, Mac." And she started crying, and I was still sitting there completely numb, because I once had this doctor who said, writing me out on disability, they asked, where do they believe that this issue began? And he was an addiction doctor, and he said, I believe Miss Phillips's issues began when she was a fetus.
Yeah.
So Kathleen's sitting there, and then she says, "Mac, I know how well you do at your job. I know you've been an achiever and all that stuff." But she said, it's time. it's time for you to go and work on your trauma. And about 4 days later, I went to the guest house in Ocala, Florida for trauma treatment. Now, let me tell you, I've been to treatment 11 times and I've never gone to treatment sober. But, you know, when you pee in a cup, when you go to a treatment center, it's obviously going to be dirty.
Yep.
But that wasn't the case. And I spent 90 days in intense trauma treatment.
That's incredible.
And then when I finished at the guest house, I came back to LA and I went into a trauma IOP. And I just graduated trauma IOP just last week.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. So when you were saying that, working on yourself is very important. And, and I know I have privilege, I'm aware of that not many people would be able to make that kind of commitment or, go and do something like that. But due to the severity of the trauma that I've had, and, I'm 65 years old. And I thought I had done all the work, I'm sober. I'm a teenager in my sobriety, and I was like, I'm fine. So what if thus and such and this and that and this and that happened when I was growing up? I hadn't really gone deeper.
This segment of the Pull Podcast is brought to you by Heartwood Home Detox. Well, I'm no expert on trauma, but from what I understand, the brain has an uncanny ability to mask that stuff, or
Yes.
at least push it down to the point where it's not affecting you on a quote unquote daily basis.
That's right.
However, if you're not aware of your triggers and things of that sort that can bring back those memories at like very inconvenient times, it's very dangerous.
It's very dangerous. And there's this amazing man. His name is Bessel van der Kolk. And he wrote a book called The Body Keeps the Score.
Yes, I've read that. I didn't realize I didn't know the author by name.
He's like a rock star to me.
Yeah.
And it really helped me understand why I'm so anxious, why I have spinning thoughts, why I am the way I am. And I read this book 2 years maybe before I went into trauma treatment, but it really helped me understand. But then going to treatment helped me integrate those parts of the traumatized child, the kid who was famous, child star, all that came with that. And then, all of those years and years and years and years of, it's called complex trauma. It's called complex PTSD.
Yep.
And so I went and I did that. And
you just finished last week.
That's right, man. Here I am.
And you feel great.
I do. I feel great.
Good. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, I feel great. I mean, I actually felt great before I did the work. But it was like a mask, like you said.
Yeah,
it was
the
a
facade.
mask of wellness, because it wasn't like I was sitting around going, oh my God, I can't believe he did this to me. I was only a kid, and it wasn't like that because I had trauma blocked these memories and these things.
It's like a survival tactic.
Absolutely.
And
so I went and I really faced the monster, and being a sober woman really helped me.
Yeah. So circling back to some of that, you're 14, doing drugs on a daily basis at this point. Has acting and TV sitcoms come into play yet?
When I did American Graffiti, Lucas's first feature film, I was 12. And then so I'd already started dabbling. And then, I was doing TV movies and different acting things and different things like that. And by the time I got to 16 years old, God, a baby, I think of my son Shane, who's now 38. And I think of him at 16. And I'm like, he got to be a kid.
Yeah.
I made sure of that, But then I look at me at 16 and I'm like, oh God, that poor child.
Yeah.
By the time I got One Day at a Time, that's a little ironic, isn't it?
It is very ironic.
Yeah. It was bad and getting worse. And eventually.
You did what, 5 years on that show?
7.
7.
Yeah.
Okay. And by year 7, it was what? It had escalated or progressed?
It had been escalating, progressing, as we talk about progression all the time, all along. But it progressed to the point where they came to me. Actually, they called me into the bigwig's office, and I was like, oh my God, they're going to say, you're doing so great. We love you so much. You're, wow. And they said, Mac, we are going to suspend you with pay. But this was back in like the day, They said, go get well.
They didn't know what that meant, but
No.
they knew that you weren't well.
Right. And by that time, I was probably 18.
Okay.
And I went and I got my teeth cleaned. I went to the dermatologist.
You got an extra day of sleep?
Yeah, a day. Maybe I slept for a day. And I got my hair cut, and I went back, and I was like, ta-da!
I'm here. I'm ready.
Here I am. And they were like, great job. You look great. And, then it devolved and devolved and devolved, and I was eventually fired.
Mm-hmm. Now, only because I've heard stories, right? I've never been in Hollywood or anything along those lines, but it sounds like drugs were pretty accessible even around and on the set, and in some cases demanded by some of the actors and things of that sort, right?
Well, I've never been in that situation.
Okay.
And because I was a child,
This is true. Yeah, I guess
nobody
they're not
was
gonna allow
going
that.
like, "Hey, Mac, I've got some blow back
Yeah.
in the,
Fair.
I was very close with the crew, but none of them were like, "Hey, I know you're doing blow. You got any?"
Yeah.
And yet, there were a lot of drugs around, and I knew where to get them.
Mm-hmm.
And people say things like, "Oh, well, it's a Hollywood problem." Well, we now know that that's not true. It's not a Hollywood problem. When you take into account fentanyl and the opiate crisis, and even many, many years before that,
Sure.
kids are dropping dead on street corners
Left and right.
everywhere. Everywhere. And if we think that we're going to incarcerate our way out of this, it's not going to help. It's not going to happen.
No.
It's not going to work.
It's not usually what's going to get people to want to change, right?
No, and I do speak for the drug court a lot because I think it's an incredible program.
I agree.
It's just, it's a diversion program. Instead of going to jail, you have the opportunity to go to treatment and recover. And I've been at so many drug court graduations, and they weren't people I knew. I had no idea who these people were, but I just cried because
Do they have a wall of change where you are at your drug court?
it's not my drug court. I travel around the country and speak at different drug courts.
It's all the drug courts.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, not all of them, some of them.
Gotcha.
But I would just sit there and cry because of the hope
Mm-hmm.
that I saw in their eyes, and the hope that I believe in, because people will say, oh God, well, forget him. He's just an addict. No, he's not. He's somebody's kid, and he's hopeless. No, while there is breath, there is hope.
Agreed.
Yeah.
This segment of the Pulled Podcast is brought to you by Creekside Recovery.
I like you, Jack.
I appreciate that. I do too. I mean, I like you, and I'm glad you're here. And, I was thinking the only, addicts and alcoholics, and one of the reasons I love that whole program that you're talking about, the drug court and stuff, is because it puts parameters on us. I remember being a kid, and as long as I had structure and some accountability, I was going to be okay. But any alcoholic and addict that has a little bit of structure and accountability can accomplish amazing things. And that drug court allows that, right? And it's better because it's less of a tax burden to house these people. They wouldn't do the crimes that that they probably were convicted of if it weren't for drugs and alcohol, right? And so it's just this, a vicious cycle. I agree that it's not the proper way to deal with people. And there's sober livings out there that can house people for that in the meantime. And as long as they have a parole officer and keep people in line, there's rules. And like I said, for at least a guy like me, I'll speak for myself, is when I receive the proper parameters, I can fall in that line. And as long as I stay on that line long enough, those neural pathways can come back.
It needs to be repetition.
Yeah.
It has to be, and you think, oh my God, do I have to listen to how it works? Oh,
They're okay.
are we cool about the traditions?
As far as I'm concerned, we don't speak for any agency whatsoever,
Right.
whatever treatment program. I usually just like to say the program that I work, right? I mean,
Right.
And that's just, how I try to respect it. But there needs to be a social aspect of it, right? Because this is a lifelong thing.
That's
and
right.
there needs to be that social aspect of it afterwards, because just because we may be able to get sober for some period of time, in order to stay sober, you almost have to have it in your forefront at all times. I remember somebody always telling me, keep your sobriety right in front of your face. And as long as you do that, you're going to be okay.
And treat it like the precious gift that it is.
Absolutely.
Because, so many people just crumple it up and throw it away.
Yeah.
And I was one of them. I mean, I was a chronic relapser, for many years. And as far as structure goes, I think I would have done a lot better had there been any rules.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like there was none in childhood, and then as soon as you became an actress, there's a lot of yes people around, as well as you get probably a lot of freedom, right? Especially once you turn 18.
Once you turn, that was when it was on. It was on.
Me too.
I was, my Aunt Rosie was my guardian throughout the teenage years of One Day at a Time. And because my mom still wasn't, she was like, I am not going to the set every day. I have other things to do, darling. Sure. She tried really hard. Aunt Rosie, God bless you, up there in heaven. She tried really, really hard to have rules. And I just didn't care. I'm like, I love you, but I'm going to the Sunset Strip. At 15 years old. I think underneath the level of consciousness longs for structure. But I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know. I didn't know until I knew.
By the time I got to sober living, I fell in love with sober living. I fell in love with the whole aspect of it. Like I said, just give me the rules and I can follow them.
Yeah.
But without rules, I'm a rebel without a cause.
Same.
So you're getting fired from One Day at a Time. Then what happens from there?
Well, I thought, okay, that's fine. They're over me.
You're like, there's more work probably, right?
I thought, I'll get another gig. No.
Interesting.
No, because, there was a cover of People magazine, and Bonnie and Val were like looking beautiful. And here's the look the photo that they chose. So the look on my face was like that. And it said, why Mackenzie got fired.
I haven't seen that.
You can Google that shit.
Bet.
Am I allowed to say shit?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not?
Okay. And everybody in the industry knew, especially because I had been suspended once and then fired, and they knew that they had put it in my new contract that they could UA me at any time.
Oh, so reputation starting to precede you.
Oh, I was just untouchable. Probably also uninsurable.
Interesting.
And so I ended up marrying my dealer.
I've heard that so many times. Or at least dating. Yeah. No,
right.
Yeah.
And I was on my our honeymoon in Hawaii, and we're watching TV, and breaking news, there's a fire in Los Angeles in Laurel Canyon. Mackenzie Phillips' house is on the damage list.
Whoa.
And I'm sitting there, and I weigh like 18 pounds, with like 18 pounds of cocaine on the table. And I had to get on a plane. I had to go back. And so this is odd. We got on the plane, and the entire first class was filled with the band REO Speedwagon. Random.
Interesting. Yeah.
And they were really kind and helpful, Kevin Cronin especially. They knew what I was going back to. And, it was just a bad, bad, bad marriage. It just, the Eskimo who pulled me out of the snow, she said, whenever you're telling your story and you don't know what to say next, all you have to say is, and then it got worse.
And then it got worse, right? Because it's an accurate statement.
Yes.
Right? As long as you're telling your story, and then it got worse.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it was just, a series of, failed treatment, never being able to show up to my responsibilities. At least I could show up, but in the long term, I wasn't able to maintain. And I wasn't even sober, but I wasn't even able to say, okay, I'm not going to get high on set today. I'm going to wait until I get home. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. So you're unemployable, but you married your drug dealer. And so you have endless amounts of drugs. What point does becoming sober start sounding like a good idea?
Oh, getting sober didn't sound like a good idea at all.
Oh, okay.
At all.
So the ultimatums maybe. So there was 11 treatment centers though.
Yes. And the first time I went to treatment, I was 18
And
or
you
19.
did that for what? To appease?
I just, I wanted to get everybody off my back.
There it is.
So I could have enough space. They would think I was well and I could go back to doing what I was doing.
Sure.
And I would sit there and I would go, these people actually expect me to stay sober after I leave here? No, not happening.
But it was a means to an end, which was to get the monkey off your back.
That's right. And to lower my tolerance so that I could up my dose.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
We're the same kind of addict, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Here's the problem. Money. Because One Day at a Time was in syndication and there was a lot of money still coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And, all my life, my dad would say, kid, the rules don't apply to you. You're a Phillips.
Oh, so you were taught terminal uniqueness.
Yes. And then I got arrested.
Okay. For?
Public intoxication. I was like in the gutter in front of a club. The guy I was with was driving a Rolls Royce. I mean, it was like crazy. It was crazy. And I got arrested. And it was maybe, I don't know what year it was, maybe 79. I don't know. And still, that didn't stop me.
No, but it is a level playing field at that point, too. It's your first dose of maybe a level playing field in the sense that once you're behind those bars, like, you're just like everybody else, right?
Well, I was in ADSEG.
Oh.
Yeah, they would not put me in GP.
Okay.
ADSEG means segregation. GP means general population.
Yeah, for those of you that
For those
don't know.
of you who don't know, which
Yeah.
you probably all do.
Most of you
And
know.
my dad, I keep talking about my dad, and he was a he was a monster.
Mm-hmm.
But after I got out of jail, I was only there overnight probably. I can't really remember because I was still intoxicated by the time someone posted bond.
Yeah.
And I talked to my dad and he said, I am so proud of you. It's about time.
Yeah. It's like a
badge of honor.
Exactly.
It's about time you got arrested. Huh?
Yeah. Can't believe it took this long.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my values were in me and I knew I was living against them, my moral compass, my values. But I want to say, when I say my moral compass, I truly need to say that addiction and alcoholism is not a moral issue. It's really important for me to say that because obviously why I'm saying that. And yet I was still working on One Day at a Time at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
so you had all this money coming in.
I had all this money coming in.
You went to treatment for the first time to get the people off your back, and you're still married to your drug dealer at this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is that not like today where, say, Lindsay Lohan, you see it, all over the news. Lindsay Lohan's going to treatment for 30 days. Oh, Robert Downey Jr. is going to treatment, all that kind of stuff. This was much earlier than that.
Yeah, you had them all beat.
Yeah, it was much earlier in the game.
I was going to say there's probably only Betty Ford that existed at that point, right? There were maybe like
Yeah.
a handful of treatment centers.
And the producers of One Day at a Time were just all a bunch of old dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And it never, I don't think maybe it didn't occur to them to say, let's send her to treatment. The thought was she needs to be fired. And thank God there's so much more understanding now.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I was kind of, I don't know if I was the pioneer, but sort of early days.
Yeah, I mean, before it became a household issue, right? I mean, even still, because of the stigma, it's not something that people are comfortable talking about. I applaud you because I watched an interview with you with Dr. Oz where you said, I insist on recovering out loud. That is a Mackenzie Phillips quote that I absolutely love.
I will shout it from the rooftops.
And I agree with it. I'm okay. I'm comfortable with who I am, as a matter of fact, in my sobriety, because it's one of the hardest things that I ever got to accomplish, but not just because of that, but because of the principles that I live my life by today, which is even more beautiful, because if everybody had similar principles, not shouting from my soapbox here, but the world would be a better place.
It would be a different place.
It would be a very different place.
The issue with being, I hate this word, a celebrity.
Mm-hmm. You're okay.
And talking so openly about your sobriety, which I did I had 10 years, then I relapsed, got arrested again and got sober again. And here I am. The issue is that It's like Whitney Houston going on Oprah and saying crack is whack. And we all knew she was loaded. We all knew she was loaded. It's a fall from grace. And it also is something that twists the idea of recovery. Because you go out there and, you're very open about your recovery, and then, you're on TMZ.
I don't know how celebrities do it. Honestly, the celebrity or the person in question that's on TMZ or these newspapers or front page of anything, anytime you're like very publicly humiliated, for lack of a better expression, it puts your business on Front Street. And quite frankly, the majority of other alcoholics and addicts, it's not as well known.
It's not public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a very private issue in a lot of ways. In order for somebody to recover from this thing, it does take, at least for me, it's helpful just to remove yourself from the map. But celebrities don't get that opportunity sometimes.
I consider myself very lucky that I am not in the celebrity lifestyle. I hang out with people from the program. I hang out with my coworkers. I live with my 38-year-old son, and we have this big old house that I bought a long time ago. And it's not like it's that my life isn't like that.
That's good.
My life is very under the radar. But the only I did Orange is the New Black, and that was really cool. And the recent things that I've done, it's not like, thank you, God, the paparazzi are following me.
Sure.
Nobody gives a crap.
Yeah.
Unless unless I do something like Orange is the New Black or the reimagined version of One Day at a Time on Netflix. That's positive stuff.
Yeah.
Which pushes the bad stuff on Google lower down.
Yeah.
I think the biggest news about me would be if I publicly relapsed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In 2008, that happened, right?
Well, I had relapsed right after my father died.
And what year was that?
2001.
Okay.
Yeah.
And before that, you had how much sobriety?
10 years.
Okay.
But I had become very complacent. I wore the big blue book like a diamond pin. I was like, I've got 10 years. I don't really need to be so, so vigilant about my recovery.
I got this.
Yeah, I got this, man. I got this. And then I had a surgery. And, I needed pain medication. Do you know how many, of course you do.
This story
how many
is so
people
common.
go out after, dental surgery or plastic surgery?
They wake the beast.
That's
wake
right.
the beast.
That's what I call it. I call it a sleeping monster.
I love that.
It's the sleeping monster, and you have to be careful not to wake the beast.
Yeah.
I woke the beast.
It's literally dormant while you're in recovery, but the moment you introduce a mind-altering substance, forget about it.
The switch was flipped.
Yeah.
And so in this recovery from this surgery, if 2 Percocet were great, 6 were wonderful.
Yeah, 4 would have been cool, and then 6 would have been awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I was out for a really long time. And then I had I got arrested at LAX for
So you were probably using from 2001 to 2008?
Yes.
Okay.
I had gone to detox. I'd gone to rehab during that time.
Sure, you were trying to get back, but
I wasn't really trying. I think half of me was trying, and the other half of me was like, I don't want to do this. The same lady who told me, if you lose your place in your story, just say it. Then it got worse. She also told me, she said, honey, you can lead a horse to water. You can't make it drink, but you can make it thirsty.
I love that.
Isn't that good?
That's really good.
Like
I've never heard that extra part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't like I didn't have. I had a 7-year-old son, and still, you know this.
I do. I come from a lineage of alcoholics and people with mental illness on both sides of the family. I always tell people that I hit the double lotto, right? I got mental illness on one side, alcoholism on the other.
You and me both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's mix it and have a baby. Here I am.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. The DSM-5, which is the diagnostic that thing.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay. The DSM-5.
Where all the diagnoses are.
Diagnoses are right in there. And it says that the way it describes, part of the way it describes people like us is that continuous use despite persistent negative consequences. It's like the negative consequences are like, oh yeah, well that happened, but where's my stash?
Yeah, but it's going to be different next time.
Right.
Yeah, the insanity aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you or someone you love struggling with addiction? Align Recovery Centers provides a holistic approach offering comfort and care to focus your mind, body, and soul. The journey to lasting sobriety begins in Sonoma at Align Recovery Centers. Make the call today.
What I'm curious about, though, is at what point did you decide that you wanted to be sober and were able to get that 10 years originally? Like, what was the catalyst? What was the original catalyst?
Okay, I'm going to tell you a story.
Please.
When I was about 16, and I was already, was very adept at using a rig, and all that kind of stuff. And I wasn't an innocent addict. I'd been at it for a while. But I was in New York visiting my dad and his wife, and I knocked on the door of the bathroom and I said, "Hey, Dad, I need to talk to you. There's something going on." And he said, "Not now, darling. Daddy's shooting up." And I was like, okay. And then I went back downstairs and dealt with whatever it was. Fast forward many, many years. My son is 4 years old. Shane.
Great name.
He is my heart.
Love that. And you live together.
Yeah, he's I was just talking to him this morning and he's like, "Do good, Mom. I know you will." I was in the bathroom and I was doing up and Mommy, I need you. And I said, "I'm busy right now, son. Just go find your father." And I said it in a very harsh way. And I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh my God, I'm doing the exact same thing my father did to me, but I'm doing it to a 4-year-old.
It's how our conversation had started, right? Hurt people.
It was just.
Was there a realization that you were perpetuating the similar behavior?
Oh yeah, I was like, I'm not breaking the cycle, which was what I always wanted to do, is break the cycle of neglect, abuse, sexual abuse in my family.
And you're getting emotional. I could see it.
Oh yeah. It was.
It's hard to relive, huh? Because
it's just a moment that
shame.
Yeah. There's a lot of shame around it, and also I shot coke through my 7th month of pregnancy, which isn't a secret. So I had this moment of clarity.
I love that term too.
Yeah. And I was like, this can't go on. This can't go on. I'm Shane's mom. And look, my husband at the time, we weren't even married actually, but he's a fairly well-known British rock and roll guitar player. He played with Springsteen, Sting, Crosby, Stills and Nash, on and on. He's a brilliant guitarist. I would have left me. He didn't. He was going to Al-Anon long before.
God bless him.
God bless him is right. He's still one of my very best friends on the planet.
That's good.
In true addict fashion, I said, okay, I'm going to do it, but I need to be in detox by sundown. I want it, and I want it now. And so I put a bunch of Xanax in my pocket and went to detox. And then I was in detox for about 2 weeks.
I imagine with the amount of drugs probably that.
And I was insane. I went into detox and I said, "Hello, my name is Jane Erickson." So they had me listed as Jane Erickson because Mackenzie Phillips, it could be. So I was like, no, I'm not Mackenzie Phillips. My name is Jane. So
you had to fake a.
I was a lunatic. I didn't need to do that.
Okay, I thought you were trying to, cover up who, from an anonymity or not that they're not. I mean, they're bound by HIPAA anyway.
Right, and part of me was doing that, but the other part of me was putting on a show. And people would go, "You're not Jane Erickson. You're Mackenzie Phillips. You sound just like her. You look just like her." And I say, "Oh, I get that."
That's what your identification says?
I get that all the time. But then I went to a place called Alina Lodge, which was basically...
I'm really familiar with that place.
I just got back from Alina Lodge as the speaker for their summer picnic.
Incredible.
4 days ago.
That place is amazing.
I was there for 9 months.
Wow.
With Mrs. Delaney.
Okay.
before before she passed away, and it was basically like a Victorian boarding school and AA boot camp all at the same time. And I was there for 9 months. I didn't see my son for 9 months, but he would write me these beautiful cards and draw pictures, and it was very, very, very hard to stay. And
real quick,
Yeah.
does he remember that?
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
Yes. And I said, son, I'm just so sorry for everything that's happened, and I want to make an amends to you. And he goes, Mom, you don't need to. It's not necessary. You're the best mom in the world. Even his Christmas card, birthday card this year said, I wouldn't choose anyone else as my mother.
I love that.
But I went to Alina Lodge. I stayed there for 9 months. I was just talking to the woman who was my sponsor back then. And she's in her 80s now, Mary Kay. And we were laughing on the phone. I was like, I thought my story was going to kill you when we did,
Your fifth step?
when we did my fifth step. And we were just laughing. And I followed direction. I was given parameters on what to do after I left and what to do, because the rules were so strong at Alina Lodge that,
You fall in line or you leave.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's
That's probably why I like that program so much, right?
Yeah, right. And Mrs. Delaney said to me, you are not going to try and work as an actress for at least 1.5 years. And I said, I will make that commitment.
That's some sage advice.
Yeah. And then 1.5 years later, we were living in the Poconos, and, I was going back and forth, but I was working, I was doing all different, episodic guest star things and working and working and working. And it was great. I mean, and those 10 years of my life were happy, joyous, and free, super sweet. Moved to LA, moved back to LA. It was amazing. And,
So then the surgery, right? What was it, like like dental or cosmetic surgery or something along those lines?
It was.
Okay.
I got myself some breasticles,
Got it.
and that surgery called for a lot of medication.
Yeah. On to recovery time, right?
Yeah. Then my dad died. And I, despite the incestuous nature and the grooming since I was a little girl that my dad had done, I was like, and I was with him when he died. And I thought I would be like, ding dong, the witch is dead. No, I was devastated because I thought the only person that can answer my questions, why?
Yeah.
Why would you do this? I was a child. Why, all those things was gone. And I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried until that moment of clarity of, I don't need him to tell me why. I already know. He was a sick man. And that doesn't mean that I co-sign anything that he did.
Right.
And I had the opportunity to forgive him on his deathbed.
And that's amazing.
And I said, Dad, I am not forgiving you for what you've done in the way that I'm saying, oh, it was okay.
Right.
I said, I'm forgiving you so I can have
move
peace.
on. Yeah.
So I can have peace. And
You didn't want to carry around that boulder anymore, right?
and I thought
Drop the rock.
Drop the rock. I thought I had until that letter that I got, And I had this thought that the program with which I am affiliated would do the work for me, that going through that program would address all my trauma. Well, I have to remember, and I hope nobody is offended, but this is the truth. The program that I'm affiliated with is a self-help program, right? And our sponsors are not therapists or doctors.
Correct.
And I think a lot of people live in the idea that all of their issues from the past, the childhood traumas, adverse childhood experiences, can be resolved via the program with which we are affiliated. And I thought that. And they can't.
Well, the thing about it, at least this is just I guess, my take on it. I can't say for sure if this is 100% accurate, but I would guess or venture to guess that that part of the reason why people think that is because their life goes from so horrible to so amazing
Right.
pretty dang quickly if you're
Right.
doing everything correctly, right? And like all of a sudden you think that because it's this much better that you're okay.
Everything's better.
But it's not,
Yeah.
right? And it usually takes a little bit more life experience to realize whether it's snapping at somebody, whether it's doing certain things or repeating behaviors that maybe don't fall in line with the principles of whatever, and you realize that there might be something underneath, right? I hear
But
about that all the time.
You're also describing the first stages of relapse.
100%.
Yeah.
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 Well, so that's why those things happen, which is probably why after 10 years, all it took was a reintroduction of a mind altering substance real quick, even if it was taken as prescribed, which it sounds like it might have been in.
Not really.
No, not even
in the
gate?
beginning.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, like you said, you're reintroducing it. Even if you're taking it as prescribed, it's still you get the.
It's waking up the receptors.
There it is.
That have been dormant for so long.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those things come back quickly.
People always said, well, if you relapse, within days, you're going to be right back where you were, right back where you started. No. It took years. It took years for it to get that bad.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure everybody's a little bit different.
Yes, that's true.
But it's nice that you didn't fall apart so quickly.
Well, I have to tell you that I am grateful for drugs and alcohol.
Do tell. I love this.
Okay.
I think I know where this is going, but please finish.
I'm so grateful for drugs and alcohol because if I hadn't had them, I might have ended my life.
Wow.
I think that they protected me
Wow.
from myself in a way that, and I should have died a million times. I mean, there's no reason other than God that I'm still walking this planet. But I've come to the realization that I'm really grateful for those substances because I felt like I would die without them. And I don't know, I just feel like they kept me alive, even though they should have killed me.
And I would say, and I'll take it a step further, I would say that I'm grateful for alcohol, at least in my case, because had it not been for that, I might not have the tools that I do today to learn to live. And the program that I use today that I live with has allowed me to enjoy life in a way in which I was never capable of doing prior to it.
Well, and absolutely 100% agree with you. There's that too.
In the quiet hills of Marin County, there's a place where healing begins. A place where alcohol or drugs no longer control your life. At Live Oaks Wellness, we offer compassionate, client-centered care for those struggling with addiction. Our licensed drug and alcohol detox and residential programs are designed to help you take the first step toward recovery with a team that truly understands the journey. You don't have to walk this path alone. At Live Oaks, we're here to help you rebuild, restore, and reclaim your life. Take the first step today. Live Oaks Wellness. Healing starts here.
There's something interesting that I heard. If you keep relapsing, or even just first time around, drugs and alcohol aren't really the problem because it's the sober you that makes the decision to pick up.
Correct.
So the way I respond and react in the world could be the problem, depending on where I am in my evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem that brings me back to drugs and alcohol. So when I'm loaded, yes, I'm a nightmare. But when I'm clean and sober, that's where you take up the flag, and that's where you start doing the work.
Well, using that logic, which I appreciate because I agree with it, is basically saying that chronic relapsers, like let's just say, especially after a period of sobriety, let's just say they had it for a period of time. You were doing the deal for a while, and you've since recovered, but then you're living life, and you didn't realize you have all this other stuff going on. You start relapsing and relapsing and relapsing. Well, that would be an indication then at that point that there's something else going on probably,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So the people that you see that have periods of sobriety, but then can't live life on life's terms still, and then either go back to it, whether it's like stop working a program or doing things of that sort, whatever the case is, it's that perfect recipe. Generally speaking, you might say, hey, listen, there might be something deeper going on. That would be an indication if I was a therapist to maybe dig a little deeper.
As far as people like us who end up using drugs and alcohol, right? There has to be adverse childhood experiences, whether it be like you were raised by a nanny or, whatever it is.
Whatever
and
it
I've
is.
met so many people who are like, well, I don't have any trauma. I don't even know why. And then you dig a little deeper and it's like, there it is.
Yeah, I feel like everybody has a little bit of childhood trauma to some degree, and trauma, like, listen, it's the big T, right? Everybody
I
talks
hate the
about
word.
it.
I'm so tired of it.
It's so tired of the word.
Yeah.
Because it's just so it's too broad, right? There's so many different ways to describe it, and really, there's different levels of it. You could offend somebody that has real trauma. Like,
Right.
I don't have real trauma.
Trauma shaming.
Right?
I've experienced it. Yeah.
I don't have real trauma. However, there are certain things that happened in my childhood which can, you could look back on and say, hey, listen, that didn't help with the fact that you became an alcoholic. It's not the reason I drank, but it also, fuels some of it too, right?
And it also medicates the pain.
Mm-hmm.
Like Gabor Mate says, he said, don't ask why the drugs and alcohol. Ask what's the pain.
Ask what's the pain.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't, but I actually really love him.
Yeah. So in 2008,
Yeah.
you are back at the jumping off place again.
I wasn't in recovery.
No, you weren't
Yeah.
at the time.
Right.
But this is about the time where you need to get sober again, correct?
When I got arrested.
You got arrested again?
Yeah.
So do tell.
Okay. So I had, again, moved the drug dealers into my house.
Love it.
They lived, in my
Convenience,
in my
right?
son's room directly below me. So there was a constant stream. By that time, I was speedballing.
You're making a lot of sense right now.
Yeah,
I get it.
yeah, got it. And so there was a constant stream of all I had to do was walk downstairs, or all they had to do was walk upstairs. And this had been going on for a long time. And the night before I got arrested, I was sitting there doing what we do. I was cooking something up, and I was rocking back and forth. And I'm going to quote something. I'm not going to tell you what it's from. But I was saying, rarely have we seen a person fail who was thoroughly followed. Of course, those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not complain. I'm crying.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I'm either going to die in here, somebody's going to find me, or I'm going to go home to the program which we both are affiliated with.
Absolutely.
So the thing is, they had Rachel Ray, apparently One Day at a Time was her favorite show growing up. And so as a surprise for her 40th birthday, they recreated the One Day at a Time set on her set. And they were flying me, Bonnie Franklin, and Pat Harrington in to surprise her for her 40th birthday.
How cool.
Yeah, I didn't make it.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
So the drug dealers that were living with me said, God, you've got to take the foil off of the black tar heroin things. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I've traveled with drugs so many times, it doesn't matter. But I was wearing cargo pants with a buckle, and I had the drugs in that pocket. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't the foil that set it off. It was the buckle.
But even still, you could almost argue, and anybody that works a program might be able to understand this, where I'm coming from, is that at that point, if that's what you were saying the night before, and then it may be a consequence, but it may be divine at the same time.
It is divine. I have publicly thanked the LAPD so many times for saving my life.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and so there I was busted, and all the details are very funny, but they're in my book, High on Arrival. So yeah, at the end of the whole Michigas, that was, are you holding? I'm like, no. She goes, look down at your foot. And there was a baggie sticking out from under my foot.
Wait, so you had some in the cargo pant and in your shoe?
No,
Oh.
What I did was, after the cargo pants set off the thing and they put me in the little area where you've been set off and then they're going to wand you.
Yeah.
I somehow moved the baggie into my waistband. So
then it
when
fell down.
they wanded me, the buckle went off. Beep, 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 beep,
But
beep.
nothing was there anymore.
Right. Then the waistband went off. Beep, beep, beep. And I said, oh, no. The cargo pants. Yeah, but I have a ribbon that's made out of metal on my underwear.
Careful, because now they're going to strip search?
No. Then they said, take off your shoes, and did it. And then it fell out of my underwear all the way down my pants and ended up under the edge of my shoe and of my foot. Mm-hmm. And I kept saying, no, I'm not holding. And the cop goes, look down, look at your foot. and the corner of a baggie was sticking out. And I was like, you're not going to arrest me, are you?
Jig
Because
was
I'm
up.
still thinking terminal uniqueness, the rules don't apply, grandiosity, all that kind of stuff. And they're like, oh, no. And then we went through more stuff, and they said, and also they were calling me Ms. Phillips. And I was like, well, that's pretty good. They're calling me Ms. Phillips. So they're probably, well, the next thing I heard was, put your
You're
hands
under
behind
arrest.
your back. You're under arrest.
You have the right to remain.
I was Miranda'd. And
Divine, though. Divine.
oh, absolutely. I would not have survived. Absolutely.
It's like a prayer was answered.
Yes.
So then at that point, because I can't imagine for possession and stuff, you didn't stay in jail long, but like...
No, my son said, leave her there. Leave her there. She needs to feel, and
rightfully so.
right. He was 21-ish or something. And my sister Bijou, they left me there one night. And I was in a cell by myself. And they wanted to roll a shower in. Do you want to take a shower? I'm like, no, God, that was dope sick. And then my sister Bijou bailed me out. There's a very funny story where she comes to visit me, and it's through the glass, and I'm like, you got to bail me out of here. And I had a burrito in my hand and a carton of milk in the other.
Ugh.
And Bijou goes, look at you with your jail burrito. It's just it's funnier.
It's better than a bologna sandwich, I'm sure.
Exactly. But the story's funnier when Bijou tells it.
I'll bet.
But when I finally got, and of course, this is when it's nighttime, I've got a blanket over my head, and there are photographers everywhere on a fence taking pictures. So those are the times when I get that kind of attention, which I'm happy not to get that kind of attention ever.
Right.
But then I went to rehab again for 4.5 months, and I came home to the wreckage of my past. I walked into my bedroom. There was blood on the ceiling. There were needles everywhere.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah, it was like a shooting gallery for one person. I was out of my mind.
So your son wasn't living with you at this point, or was he?
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
But then when the dealers
Left.
it took a long time to get them out of there. I was in treatment in Louisiana. And Shane moved back in to take care of the dogs and be there. And he's never left. I don't think he ever will. I think he thinks he needs to take care of me. And I keep saying, son. He said, no, I'm never leaving you. You and Dad are my life. And I'm divorced from his father. But I can't say, well, I would never, ever say, you have to move out. Get going. I would never say that. But I came home and and I cleaned everything up myself. You got to do it and deal with it.
So for the listeners out there, one of the things I wanted to point out was the first successful time you were in treatment, you were there for 9 months.
Long term.
And then the second time, you have a little bit of history, and so you know a little bit about what you're doing, but you still did another 4.5. I am such an advocate for long-term treatment. I do not believe that 30 days is a fix.
You're only re-entering your body at 30 days.
Yeah, you're finally actually detoxed, right? Like, you may be physiologically detoxed after 5 to 10 days. However, you're not really mentally all there yet.
No, even after that, your brain is still shedding
100%
from the receptors.
This segment of the Pull Podcast is brought to you by Golden Gate Recovery.
I often wonder, had I not been an addict, what would I be doing now? And I think I'd probably be a very successful psychiatrist. Even when I was a little kid. Remember when I said I looked around and I'd be like, why are these people thinking it's okay to do this around me?
Yeah.
My mom told me that I went to her and I said, Mommy, I want to be an abnormal psychologist when I grow up. And that's what they called it back then. I don't know where I learned the term. But every time I went to treatment, I was like, God, everyone who goes to treatment wants to become a counselor. Pretty much everyone.
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I became a counselor for a little while, yeah.
Eventually, I actually did it. And, I'm getting ready to semi-retire. I've earned it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of stuff I still want to do.
Good.
And, I believe in long-term treatment, like 9 months at Alina Lodge, 4.5 months at the other place. And it doesn't mean that the other ones weren't meaningful, but these two were the ones that actually produced results.
Sure.
Because I was willing to use practical application of what I learned because of repetition after I left. Because the whole thing starts when you walk out the door. Before that, you're just learning. But what are you going to do with what you've learned?
When the rubber meets the road.
You better believe it, man.
Yeah, the aftercare plans, all that stuff. And just like I said, sober living. I think I did sober living for 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you.
And not necessarily because I didn't trust myself, mostly because I was still climbing out of all the debt that I had created and paying people back and making amends and stuff. And
Yeah.
plus, I was having a blast, I was having a good time. I mean, people in recovery, what's the Jelly Roll quote? Are you familiar with Jelly Roll? Yeah, he's the best.
He's awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait to have him on. But
are you going to have him on?
I'm going to do my best.
Okay, good.
I definitely am a big fan of his aside from the recovery thing anyway. So I think it'd be a hit.
And that guy that won The Voice,
Who's that?
David, I can't remember his last name, but he's like a sober man. He talks about recovery all the time. He's always doing, service and stuff like that.
I'll look into it. I'll look up as soon as we leave here. I'll Google The Voice. And
Okay.
David. Yeah.
He
But
blew
the Jelly
me
Roll
away.
comment, he's
Yeah.
like, rarely have I met an addict or an alcoholic that doesn't light up a room when they walk in, right?
I love that quote too.
Yeah. Rarely have I seen an addict or an alcoholic that doesn't light up a room when they walk in. It is. And we are cool people, man. As far as I'm concerned, my life didn't start until I got sober. Like, I didn't even know what it was. I was going through this Groundhog's Day of what society had dictated was important, which was you go to a job every day, you punch in, you punch out, you do this, you do that. And I'm thinking I'm climbing corporate ladder, and then all of a sudden you lose everything, but you find recovery, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm just learning how to live, and it's like a do-over. It's like a do-over.
Yeah. You get to do I've had several do-overs.
Yeah, I've needed multiple mulligans.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not a bad thing because, like you said, the only person who can't recover is somebody that doesn't have breath in their lungs, right? And
That's
it's
right.
never too late. One of the things I run into all the time is people thinking that, I'm already over 40 or 50 years old and I'm just starting to get sober and my life's over. And it's like, you have no idea, buddy.
My mom got sober at 62.
I love that. Tell me.
So she was a hardcore alcoholic. And then, when she married this particular man, my mom was married 3 times. Her last husband was just a brilliant love match. But her middle husband was a brutal domestic violence man, So she would be like, can you score us some Coke? Me, right? And I'm out scoring Coke for my mother. But
That's bizarre from the very proper
I know.
etiquette person.
yeah.
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 Okay.
And yet she was wearing diamonds. Can you score me some Coke? At the same time. But time moved on. I moved her out of the house and got her away from him, got her a divorce lawyer. She finally got divorced. And then she met Chuck. And anyway, he died. They were drinking, Remember once they took my mom to the emergency room because Chuck had accidentally knocked into her with the car. I mean, that's how drunk they were.
Yeah.
And I go to the emergency room and I'm like, Mom, are you okay? Have you been drinking? And she goes, no. Why? Can you smell it?
I've answered that question with the same response many times.
It's hilarious. So I was sober maybe 5 years at the time. This was in the middle of my 10-year stint. And my boyfriend and I are both sober. And we went over to my mom's house. And, it was pretty grim. And she said, hey, are you guys going to one of those meetings today? And I was like, yeah, we go every day. And she's like, can I come tomorrow? Because, she was in a nightgown or robe or whatever. And she was sober from that day on. And she died 18 years sober at the age of 80, 9 years ago, a couple days ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
How cool is that?
Yeah. And she probably had the best 18 years of her life. Well, maybe not the best 18.
Well,
but,
until she got dementia.
okay.
And then when she had dementia, this is a funny thing. She was living just before she moved to assisted living. She was a sober woman, and she had early dementia. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, Mom, because she'd hurt her back. I said, how are you doing with the pain pills? Now, remember, she had dementia. Mm-hmm. And she said, oh, honey, I'm doing fine. I've got 3 left, and I'm saving them for New Year's Eve.
Wow. So she was back in addict. She thought she was an addict still.
She thought she was still sober.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Still sober.
Well, this was during her sobriety.
Right, but it was in dementia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she said, I still have 3 pills left.
Yeah, I have them left and I'm saving them to celebrate on New Year's Eve.
Which wasn't true because at that point, was she in assisted living, you said, right?
Well, this was just before she went to assisted living.
Got it. Okay.
And who was I to burst her 18 years sober bubble?
I see.
You know what I'm
wasn't following.
saying?
That's my fault. Okay, so
yeah.
she had 3 left. So yeah, all right. So yeah, it's going great. I only have 3 left, and I'm saving them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done that. I'm like, yeah, I'm saving them for something special.
Well, there's plenty of people that put down the drugs and pick up drinking and think that that wasn't their drug of choice.
Right. Oh God.
Power to whoever. There's no judgment. I have 0 judgment to anybody that's just trying to do better every single day. At the end of the day,
Let your freak flag fly as long as you're not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
And yourself. But I mean, there are people who just want to be California sober. There are people who smoke weed and go to meetings and take cakes and all that kind of stuff.
All that stuff.
But you know what? Okay. You do you.
Yeah, listen, if you're not dying as a result of it and you're not hurting people, I'm okay with it. Like there's, like I said, 0 judgment.
Yeah, I mean, I believe I'm pretty much a dinosaur. Mm. I'm very serious about abstinence.
Mm-hmm. You and me both.
And I'm very serious about the program with which we are both affiliated. Mm-hmm. And I follow those guidelines. And, believe it or not, there are people who get sober from drugs and they can actually drink successfully.
Yeah, I've seen it.
There are just a few of them, but they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Not me.
Not me.
No. I remember being, sober-ish, and thinking, well, I'm holding a glass of like Pinot Grigio. Mm-hmm. And I said to someone, well, as far as I know, there's no heroin in this wine.
It wasn't even a thought, right?
No.
Barely a thought. It's just like,
there's no heroin in there. That's my problem.
Yeah.
And then alcohol brought me to my knees.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything that changes the way I feel, that's ultimately what it's going to do. I would have been a full-blown heroin addict if I wasn't scared shitless to try it.
Yeah.
I would have been any of those. And I'm lucky, too, because had I gone down that route, I'm certain I'd be dead.
I'm very lucky. Very, very lucky. I mean, I don't wear short sleeves no matter how hot it is because of the track marks.
Wow.
I when I was in the hospital having knee replacement surgery, they had to get something called an AccuCath, where they go into an artery, I think, behind, because they couldn't draw blood every day. They couldn't. The IVs kept falling out. And,
wow.
What hell? What hell?
Yeah.
But
now,
in
the middle of it, you don't even realize it.
No, when I'm in it, you can't see the scene you're in it once you're in it. You just can't.
When you're in it.
And then you're out and you look back and you're like, what the F? I lived that way. Mm-hmm. So that's why I always say, anybody out there, you don't have to live that way anymore.
Yeah, you're worth it. Yeah, you're absolutely worth it. Human life is the most precious thing on the planet. The coolest part for me was when I got sober, because I had been chasing money, because for whatever reason, society tells you that money's important and money, whatever. That the real currency is love, the real currency in this world is love. And life is so precious, and there's so many people dying right now because of the fentanyl epidemic and things of that sort, that recovering out loud is absolutely necessary for a lot of people. And if it means we save one person, I feel like this is a worthwhile time.
We're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I agree.
It's an act of service.
100%.
I feel beholden.
Yeah. I sleep better at night knowing that I've been able to dedicate my life to something positive as a result. And, if it's the least I could, it's just a small thing to do in my experience,
I'm Shane's mom. I'm an author. I'm an actor. I'm a treatment professional, but I have to be a sober woman above all of those things, because if I'm not a sober person, I won't have all of those things.
Yeah, you don't have a resume without that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That has to come first.
I'm all these things, but only as a result of one thing.
Absolutely. 100%.
And without that. So before we go.
Yes.
Curious what a typical day, and not necessarily this morning or today because you're in town, but what does a day in the life of Mackenzie Phillips or Mac Phillips look like?
Okay, so because of this last year that I've spent focusing on trauma, the word we love so much,
the big T,
I have been on disability so that I'm still getting paid for my gig, my job, while I'm doing the work. And so normally, if I weren't on disability, my day would be get up, show up, feed the dogs, put on my makeup, get dressed, drive to work, walk into Breathe Life Healing Center, which is like a vortex, work with others, audit charts for billable hours, have meetings, do all the kind of things that I do, and then drive home in LA, which is bad traffic. And my shoulders relax when I turn on my street and I think, home.
Is that the same home that you...
Yes.
It is.
25 years.
But now it's become your safe place.
That's right. And it
How
was
cool.
before too.
Yeah. No, of course.
Then I have to go home and I have to recharge so that I can do it again the next day.
Yeah, because this work takes a lot out of you.
Right. And now what it looks like is get up, feed the dogs, do the thing, get dressed, read a book, go sit out by the pool, take the dogs for a walk, read more, hang out with Shane, have some dinner, go read some more.
So when you're in, because you said you're on the verge of retirement. Semi-retirement. Are you still going to be working in the field a little bit?
Yeah.
Because you love it.
I love it.
Yeah.
But after 13 years of day in, day out working in treatment, I became filled with compassion fatigue. I was so burned out. And then I became so burned out that I was crispy on the edges. And
is that the way the clients would describe you?
No, they all love me.
I'm kidding.
People in my family would go,
"You're crispy.
You're crispy." Because I would go home from work and I would say to Shane, "Oh my God, I think my job is killing me," more times than one. And then the letter came in and I had this opportunity and this necessity to take this year and take care of myself.
I'm so glad you did. And I'm so glad you came on the show too.
Thank you.
As somebody that's in recovery, you get to see the people with the platforms because they have, whether it's Dr. Oz or whether it's other podcasts or some sort of short clips or, interviews on television networks where you get to learn about them a little bit, but to actually meet you in person and do this interview, it's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much, Jack.
Yeah.